Hi, my name is Attorney Walter, if not the third, and I'm with Disability Resolution PA. Let's talk. Should President Biden allow disabled people to work more than they are already allowed to under the Social Security disability system? Specifically, we're talking about the trial work period, and we're talking about the Ticket to Work program, that contract that you sign with the regional field office manager. All right, let's talk about this real quick. You can earn up to, and this is one of the figures of actually a couple, but you can earn up to $940 a month before it triggers that trial to work period, in which case you've got 9 months that you can play with once you're found disabled. And during a 5-year period, they don't need to be consecutive, right? They can just kind of be, a month here, a month there, a month there, yada, yada. And then there's additional rules about, whether or not you were found disabled before, within 5 years before that. But we're not going into all of that. Just think $940 a month triggers your using of one of your 9 months for a trial work period. Okay. So let's think about that real quick. Let's say that you're earning $10 an hour, 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, 21 days out of 30 days of a month, right? Because you have you have Saturday, Sunday days, things like that. And I mean, with these types of jobs, you're usually working a Saturday, not a Monday, and working a Sunday, not a Wednesday, whatever. So what that means is that you'll earn in that 30-day period $1,680. And that's if you were to work full time, which is about double, right? Around double of essentially the $940 limitation, except the $940 would be a little bit more than half, right? So you're working a little bit more than part-time. Like if we took the 40 hours down to 20 hours, that $940 is a little bit more than you working 20 hours. So the whole idea here is that the SSA is promoting the identity of you being able to work just more than part-time work, right? So, But I shouldn't just use that example. Let me move that. Because that's Florida. Florida's $10 an hour. Florida has a really high minimum wage compared to most states. In fact, Florida has really expensive food. In fact, a lot of people that I come across are always complaining about the cost of food. The cost of food in Florida is extremely high. So, a lot of people are maybe accustomed to, a $200 food bill, when they go to whatever shopping place they like. Well, in Florida, that'll be $275 or $300. It's really, really expensive here for food. So the bottom line is this, which directly correlates to the whole, $10 yada yada, but, that's a whole economics different situation. So then we go to other states. And I thought, well, there's not that many states with, and what's the federal rate? Federal rate's $725. I was like, there's not that many states at that low of an amount. There's just not, right? I was wrong. I looked it up. There's 29 states. 29 states. There's 29 states out of the 50 states are $725. And that's either they set that minimum wage at the state level, or they never set it at the state level and they just go by whatever the federal rate is. $725 an hour. Kentucky, Alabama, things like that. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. Let's do the same math, right? So we're working 9 to 5, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week kind of gig. But basically we're calculating it against 21 days out of 30. Because, you have Saturdays and Sundays again. What it equates to is $1,218. So now we're looking at, well, okay, based upon that $940 a month is much closer to basically you almost working the total amount of 40 hours. So you kind of have to think, okay, so what the SSA is shooting for with that federal minimum wage is you're almost working 40 hours a week at the minimum wage. So you get 9 months of those. I'm just giving this information because you need to know the backdrop as to how these two programs work in order to then question, okay, should he go ahead and offer more options? So that's the whole 9-month trial work period. That kind of gives you an understanding as to the math behind it. Let's go into now the Ticket to Work program. Ticket to Work program is usually a 5-year contract that you sign with a regional SSA field office manager who can go ahead and allow you to go ahead and receive money. And then some of the contracts, instead of you just getting all of the money you get while working and your disability check, at some point they start to do this kind of gig where they start to reduce your disability benefits and increase you increase your earnings through your job. So the idea is this: you're carroting, or they're giving you a carrot to slowly get off of disability benefits and onto essentially earning your wages, earning your money and things like that. And the whole idea of that is it's a carrot program to basically over usually a 5-year period to get you off of disability benefits. So they do allow you to work. But should they take the next step and maybe increase those trial work period months? Maybe from 9 months to 12 months. Or maybe that ticket to work program, they'll increase that contractual allowance to say 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. Or maybe they'll get away with the whole limitation for, low-level work where it doesn't count against you for SSI benefits. So let's say that, you can earn up to $85 that don't count. Most of the websites say essentially $65, but there's a $20 variance there as well. And then, so every $2 you earn over those 85, right? So you earn $87, they take $1 away from your SSI benefits. So every $2 earned, they take away $1 after $85. So the problem you run into all of a sudden is the more you work, the less you get for SSI benefits. Now, let's start talking about the ethical, the moral aspect of how this program should work. And I know I said in another video, the bottom line is I've been doing this for 15 years through other law firms and working with the ADA, and then 8 years just with my disability law firm. So I've been doing this for a while now. And the bottom line is my brain last year started to go, well, why don't we do this? Well, why don't we change it like this? Well, can't we just, rebuild it a little bit? And, a lot was going on. I was seeing how we were giving away billions to other countries for things that, to me, we could have used that money elsewhere. And at the end of the day, I started to say, okay, everybody likes to fight over immigrants. Everybody likes to fight over a lot of things. Why are we funding all these museums? But then I sat back and I was like, the disabled people of America, we don't hear them in the news. Why not? That seems like the number one group who should be receiving the potential benefit of that $5 billion that went to that other country. Doesn't that make sense? Right? The disabled people, the people who barely get much from disability benefits, who need like a little bit more to be able to rent an apartment if they're on SSI. So I started to sit back and think there's an inherent problem with the system that we have. And hopefully we can nudge Biden in the right direction to go ahead and change a lot of these things, which is why I'm creating that big list for him to go ahead and consider. Now, with that said, now you get trial to work program. Now you get the trial work period, rather you get the ticket to work program and the trial work period system. So you get those now. There's a bunch of other examples where you could go ahead and change the system to allow a person to work more. But I just want you to think for one moment, and then we're going to end this video. I don't want it to be a long one. The ethics of it. Okay, somebody becomes disabled. Now, people do not inherently like to be judged. But when they do, they like to be judged when they are at their best. Right? Look at it, an Olympic person. They do poorly at the Olympics, they feel horrible. They do very well at the Olympics, they feel wonderful. It's all about that judge's score. Same thing with disabled people. They were doing great at work and they got an award, and now they can't work anymore, and they feel terrible, and they get a denial from the disability system, and it makes them feel like they're liars about their own, mental, physical, impairments. They could be blind, etc. So the problem is, all of a sudden, we are taking people who are in their worst shape, and we are now judging them, right? And so these people in the worst shape are getting judged. And all of a sudden they get disability benefits, and they learn, hey, I can't work too much. If I get a little bit better, or I find something that might work, because keep in mind, a lot of jobs are changing. The DOT is in the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. It's ancient. That book that they use is ancient. I mean, how many jobs use computers now compared to jobs that were conceived back in 92 or 1986? All these jobs out there have some sort of computer. I mean, everything. You could be literally working on, you could be taking cork off of trees, and it's still got to go back to somebody who's got a computer to do not just the marketing, but also the financial analysis, the taxes, all that stuff. So there's really no job out there that I can think of at all that doesn't somewhere down the line include a modern touch with, computers. And so the problem inherent with all of this is that the job market is changing. Disabled people don't always have to be in some situation where they're a receptionist. They don't always have to be in a situation where, they have to be interacting with people, or in a mall, or, putting prices on items as a marker. They don't have to be in those situations like they used to. So what I'm proffering to you is the thought. And I want you guys to jump in with what you think should be done. But my suggestion is that we start to think about how disabled people could work more, how they should be able to keep the extra money that they earn, right? Because think about that. Doesn't that make sense? Like, don't you want to inspire the person to get back to work, feel great? Don't you want that person to have more money, do more in the community? Don't you want that person to feel more secure? Don't you want that person to pay potentially taxes if they earn even more, like even over a certain higher amount? Like, wouldn't that make sense? It would just make sense to do that. And I was studying, actually, because keep in mind, I have an in that you guys don't have. And that in is that I was trained by some of the gentlemen in this field, and not to be, not to be unfair, but it was only back in the 50s and 60s that mostly men were attorneys. So most of the men were practicing disability law back then, not women. And I know some of them. And they would explain to me what was really going on. And I'd be like, oh, and then they passed this and did this. And I'm like, well, they didn't really do it for that reason. And then they would tell me what was going on. I was like, oh. I just want to point out to you guys that the system has been changing and giving us answers that haven't always been the original reasoning, and the reasoning always evolves. But, we're part of an evolving system. Let me put it that way. I'm going to be, because I'm not going to say they do, but we are part of an evolving system. And their system, the SSA, from a marketing standpoint, runs around and puts out a lot of fires. They do. And that's like anything. A lot of people think about Walmart, like Walmart never gets sued. Walmart gets sued almost every day, if not every day, if not more than every day. So the bottom line is but you don't know that because it's part of most of the contractual agreements that you see Walmart sign over the settlements when it comes to these, litigation situations, whether it's mediation, arbitration, litigation, whatever, is that, you can't talk about what you got. So that's like one of the things that happens with that company. That's what they do, that's fine. That's how law works. But I just want to point out, you have all the power. I don't have all the power. The judges have temporary power until you change it, right? You can tell me, I want you to do this. I can go march off as a soldier of law. And that's what we are. We're officers of the court. You have officers of the road. There's like police, sheriff. You have officers of the court, attorneys, then you have judges. You can tell us to go march off to go create the system that you want. With us, we create the law that the legislators can put in place. You have all the power. What do you want the disability field to be? What do you want your benefits to be? How much do you want to be able to work? You could even structure it so that the government makes some money off of it. My point is, it just doesn't make sense to limit lots of the work aspect. If you have severe impairment, we can figure it out from the medical documentation. But some people with severe impairments in the modern jobs that we have nowadays can still work. Why are we penalizing them? It just doesn't make sense. 15 years ago, it made more sense because the jobs were like that. 20 to 15 years ago, we're talking flip phones. Remember that? We had the little walkie-talkie flip phone, burp, burp, and one of the yada-yadas. And then before that, we had the pager. Oh, the pager. Who didn't hate that? Right? But my point to you is this. You have all the power. What do you guys want? I'll help you out. I'll put it into a brief. I'll put the legal behind it. I'll do that. But what do you want? My name is Attorney Walter Wolfnot III. I want to point out one thing. I'm just getting it all set up and finalized. I've been working on it for 2 years here and there, little things. SpaceConstitution.com. It's first open source constitution, allows you to put in whatever rights, freedoms, etc. you think as a person you should be able to have. So for people that are moving to a foreign planet, for people moving to a space station, for people moving to another country, for people currently living in a country, it's an open source constitution. Write in whatever freedoms you want. I take it, I put them into a discussion platform, we talk about it, we create law, and then we create template constitutions which can be used to put pressure on current nations. Anyways, my name is Attorney Walter Knott. Have a wonderful day, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.